Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parnell has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy and Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G.
Mr. Weiss.
Good morning.
What's the word?
The word is Lake Forest. 2 words.
Okay. What's the latest? Anything going on?
What's up, boys?
Good old.
Hey,
So boys.
I was just filling time for you to get on here, Jeff.
Yeah.
Talking about routers and how to watch the Bulls and the Blackhawks and
Watering our lawns, going to the beach.
Yeah, the Hawks played last night, so it's fun to see the first preseason game.
Hey, I saw something I forwarded from you, Jeff, about the hockey team. What are you doing?
Well,
What aren't you doing? I guess I should say.
Yeah. Well, last night we had the parents party for Scouts hockey, and they do a lot of great stuff. They got 4 teams this year, from like the top varsity team, second varsity team down the line, and every year they come here. They always do stuff here, and then my son coaches the JV blue team, which is mostly freshmen and sophomore, and he's doing learn to skate with them. So Scouts hockey is now doing like learn to skate for like little 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and then of course high school hockey. So, and then I don't know if you saw that story with my 9-year-old I put on Facebook last week, but he went to the academy. I'll just tell it real quick.
Go.
We were all the boys play hockey. So my 12-year-old's in Detroit, out of town with mom, and I'm working all these events in town. So grandma's helping out. She dropped him off at the wrong rink. He was supposed to go to Hot Shots. She dropped him off at Lake Forest Academy.
Oh,
He doesn't have a cell phone, and he's 9. He was a little scared, but 3 Lake Forest Academy players not only just found him, calmed him down. They invited him on the ice and had a full practice with him, so he got to hang out.
that's a good ending there.
Yeah, so I tracked down these boys, got them some gift cards, and throwing the whole team a party over here at Duffers.
What's another couple?
My daughter, as you know, is a figure skater and now she's skating at Liberty University on their team. And she picked that up. 2010 Olympics.
Yeah.
My kids were at that time, I think like 5 and 3.
Yeah.
And they were watching the Olympics, and my son was watching the hockey games, and my daughter was watching the figure skating. And they both said to us, I want to do that. So we're like, okay. So we take them to the ice rink. We lived in Glenview then. They have a beautiful ice rink there. And we took them to the ice rink. And it was like a Saturday open skate thing. And both of them are falling on the ice and crying and all this. And I'm like, this ain't going anywhere. But my wife, to her credit, kept taking them. They both skated well. Now my son, the problem he had was in that Glenview area, you have a lot of Russian kids who were born with hockey pads. They came out of the womb with hockey pads. So he didn't
Ouch.
stand a chance making the team there because all these Russian kids had been skating since they were born, and he was like, I not born, but he started when he was 5, which was late apparently in compared to those. So he kind of gave it up, though he still occasionally skates with friends and stuff like that. But my daughter kept doing it and did a lot of competitions, and now she's on the Liberty figure skating team.
There you
So,
go. That's awesome.
Now that the Kumbaya segment of the show is over,
all
anything
right.
else? Well, first of all, let's. We've had a lot of new subscriptions, and a lot of new people checking out the show, and I
Well,
think
thank you. Welcome, everyone.
welcome everybody. But we got to set the premise of what this is all about. Number one, if anything bad is going on with this show, it's Pete Jansons' fault. Okay, it's not Joe, it's not Jeff, and for sure it's not Skoo, unless it's on Oakwood. Okay, that's the only thing that matters. It's not Oakwood Avenue. But
The world
this is.
according to Skoo.
But I just want to be clear. I take responsibility for everything. I take responsibility for the bad and the good. I try to push off on other people. Okay, so let's just get that clear. The opinions that are on the Facebook pages and the social media, that's all Pete Jansons. And I try to put my name next to it to to be clear about it. So if anything goes on with the show, that's me. It's not Joe. It's not Jeff. It's not Skoo. It's me.
I'm here to be like the person on the View that just beats you guys up. That's all I try to do.
Fine. You can be the view.
Yeah. I'm the there's like the View's got like 7 people, and then there's one person that's
The token conservative.
yeah. They're just
Well,
Seven
no different than
people.
the
agrees
token
whatever.
liberal when they get the token liberal on the 5 on Fox. That's no different.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
have 7 people with the brain aggregate content of 2, but but also with this podcast, it's supposed to be we show up. Sometimes you'll see people on the show. Sometimes you won't. We don't all show up at the same time. Just like showing up at Duffers for a beer. Okay, we sit
Better show
down.
up.
That damn straight, and we talk about stuff that's going on in town. All right, so what's been going on in town and what everybody's comfortable to talk about is, we had that gathering at Market Square for Charlie Kirk, and it kind of evolved into a couple other things. Joe, you're the even keel of the both of us. What was your take on what went
Well,
down?
if you let me indulge for a second, I didn't get to say this last week because we had a guest on, but I knew Charlie Kirk back when he was a kid in high school, Wheeling High School. He started out as a high school volunteer for Mark Kirk, Bob Dold, and then later on Bruce Rauner. So I knew Charlie when he was a tall kid. He was tall back then, so I can't say it was this high. But I knew him. We all kind of saw that this was a kid that had ambition and had ideas. I don't think any of us, probably including Charlie, had any idea where he was going to take it, and the level of which he took Turning Point to and becoming the national figure that he was. So, I didn't, and my kids met him a few years ago at an event, and as a result, my son started a Turning Point USA chapter, helped start a Turning Point USA chapter at his high school, which was Glenbrook South. And he took a lot of crap for it. And I always related to Charlie in the sense that when I was growing up, I was the Republican kid in Skokie, at Niles North, and there weren't too many others. And I was the Reagan guy, kind of like people are the Trump guy now and stuff. So I always related to Charlie and told him that I was very impressed with him, that he was able to do what he was doing for young kids. And so, you know, I I took I took it as hard as anyone, and I think as anyone that was there um, that night at the vigil, other than maybe Philippe Malin and Barrett Davy, I probably knew him the longest of anyone at that vigil. So that said, the vigil was hosted by the local Republican chairman, Dan Rogers, Shields Township Republican chairman, and they had a Republican candidate for state senator speaking, and even said, "Please stay afterwards and sign my campaign petitions," which is fine. I mean, Charlie was Republican. I mean, his whole goal was to elect Republicans. So there's no bones about that. There was a very nice message by the Lutheran Church minister. You know his name better than me. I don't know him offhand. And I thought it was very nice. I thought the Lake Forest Police Department did a nice job keeping everybody safe. We did find out later on there was a random Lake Forest college kid who chose to do something really, really stupid, and that was take pictures in front of the memorial mocking Charlie Kirk by holding his neck and stuff. And then the kid doesn't have the gut. When he posts it on social media, he doesn't have the guts to leave his face uncovered, so he covers his face.
Social media, Joe, that was internal Lake Forest College anonymous email hell that they have there.
Okay, so I'm not, Facebook is
continue.
I'm still learning Facebook. So, all these I never whatever that social media channel was, that other than that, which no one saw that night. That was the thing. None of us saw that. So I don't recall there being any problems that night. I think everyone there was there to honor Charlie, and the weather was not the greatest. It had been raining all afternoon. And a lot of people, the big memorial in Arizona went kind of late, thanks to President Trump, um, talking forever. But so a lot of people, by the time that ended, it was time to get over to the memorial, and it's raining. So I suspect some folks didn't attend that might otherwise have attended. That said, I think, what do you think? 200 people there?
Spanning the crowd, it was in and out. I think that's what it was. It was a great turnout. But continue.
Yeah. So I thought it was a beautiful ceremony, wonderful, and I think the thing that's gotten some attention with us is the stuff you posted afterwards, which you have a right to do, and you prefaced it a few minutes ago by saying that you're responsible for it. So this is where I think Jeff and I may respectfully disagree with you on. You were concerned.
That's what makes a market. Continue.
Yeah. And this was in Market Square. That Mayor Tack, the alderman, you even brought in Jason Witcha, the city manager, none of them were there. Now, first and foremost, Jason Witcha shouldn't be there. The city manager, the city staff, other than the police department doing their job, protecting the event, shouldn't be there. That's because, Pete, this was a political event.
Hold on, Joe.
I don't want Jason Witcha at a Democratic political event.
Joe, tea time. Is it okay for them to show up in 2020 for Black Lives Matter?
Simply put, our country is suffering. The brutality of George Floyd's death has galvanized all of us.
But when it comes down to it, it takes tragedies like this to make us understand that you don't like a black man with a knee on his neck the same way we don't like it.
George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others. Our hearts are broken, but we will not be bowed. We talked about the names, but the pain goes back so much further. They're calling for change because they realize their future is at stake. We have to speak out. We have to stand up. We have to work for change. I will not be silent, and I will work with you to help make that change.
Your silence in racist situations is permission for that person to continue.
When you see a Black American, remember the things that they carry. This cry, hurt people, did not just begin with the death of George Floyd. It has and always will be the story of each and every African American.
If you are silent about it, if you condone the silence of that, I'm sorry, but you are the problem. I never truly realized that I was Black until I moved to Lake Forest.
The Chicago Tribune said in Lake County that you were 10 times more likely to be arrested for a marijuana charge. A low-level thing now, right? If you were African American. So I think that if we begin to have transparency in those places, our municipalities, the police departments, and our courts, we can begin to tackle the problem.
When you do go home today, I'd like every white person here to do your part and begin to educate yourselves. And for those who already have started, continue to do so.
I am asking you to walk into the discomfort and to not look away.
And tell your friends, tell those that say this problem doesn't involve them and that this place doesn't have a race issue.
After we leave here, go back to your families and talk to them about how they see others.
So racism is not a new thing. What I see as new is literally hundreds of people standing in Lake Forest, brought together by a youth movement.
It's not enough to put a black box on your Instagram photo. It's not enough. We have to do more. I want to thank everyone for being here. It was not easy for some of you to decide to come here. We cannot bring back George Floyd. We cannot bring back Laquan McDonald. We cannot bring back Eric Garner. We cannot bring back Atiana Jefferson. We cannot go back centuries in time and undo the unjust government actions, the racism, the institutional racism. But we can change the future. Say it with me, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Say it louder, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Say it one more time, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm George Pandeleon, Mayor of Lake Forest. This is video message number 11. Going forward, we may reduce the frequency of these messages, but I plan to keep creating them as long as there are important things to share with you. In the wake of the horrifying death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, I'm sure you join me in offering prayers and condolences to his family and friends. We are all still shocked and saddened by this terrible event. Last evening, a peaceful protest hosted by a group of young Lake Foresters was held in Market Square. There were several hundred people in attendance, most of whom were residents, including babies in strollers and grandparents of fourth-generation Lake Foresters. I wish to thank the organizers and all those in the audience for conducting and participating in a peaceful and historic event amidst a great deal of controversy within the community. I heard and understand the concerns that were raised by residents leading up to the demonstration. However, I hope you all can share my pride. We are a community capable of uniting together to exercise our rights peaceably and without incident. Even during these times, while we're under the governor's orders that limit our ability to gather, the First Amendment guarantees the right of citizens to peacefully assemble to demonstrate support for a point of view. This event was not sanctioned by the city. A permit was neither requested nor issued. Instead, we learned it was happening on Monday afternoon after it went viral on social media. This was a fait accompli that required us to respond. The potential for serious trouble was very real, especially if the situation had been mishandled. We were advised that shutting it down would have posed a greater public safety risk than allowing it to go on with modifications. Trouble was certainly never inevitable. And in the end, it was an outstanding event. I would like to thank our entire city staff, and especially the Lake Forest Police Department, for their high degree of sophistication and their calm professionalism. I also thank the organizers for their flexibility. These two groups negotiated a revised plan that ensured the safety and security of our residents, our business community, and the hundreds of people who attended. As we all reflect on this event and the world around us, perhaps we might pause to think of ways we can continue working together to ensure that Lake Forest remains the special place we are all proud to call home.
I wasn't, number one, I didn't live here.
Yes or no?
But more importantly, let me finish.
See, this is why politics sucks.
Randy Tack was not the mayor. Hold on. Randy Tack was not the mayor of Lake Forest back then. It was George, and we love George. He's been on the show. I think I consider him one of the best people in the city, but I respectfully would have disagreed. I would have said I wouldn't have gone for the reasons that now are causing people like you to say, well, wait a second. The city went to the BLM protest or Vigil, whatever it was. Again, I wasn't there. But they didn't go to the Charlie Kirk one. And there is a long tradition in Lake Forest. And the reason I even came on this show in the first place, way back when, was because I was very concerned about Prue Beidler and how partisan she was, giving $1 million to Democrats, using Democratic campaign firms, and then masquerading as a nonpartisan candidate. So I raised the bell on that. And I said at that time, and I say it now, I don't want, just as much as I don't want the Democratic Party to take over city government in Lake Forest, I don't want the Republican Party to do that either. So the genius of the caucus and the caucus process, unlike the city to the south of us, Highland Park, is they have kept partisan politics out of city government. Okay?
They represent everybody. Go to both events. Why shouldn't they go to both events? They represent the whole town. Go to both. Why?
I wouldn't have gone to the BLM event because the BLM event was turned into a political show. A lot of those
politics.
things.
You represent everybody.
Look, like I said, I love Charlie. Okay, I love Charlie Kirk. Like I said, I knew him before any of you guys did.
I didn't.
What?
He got shot, and I paid attention. I'm like, and then I go look at all the things.
Can I point something out though?
Waiting.
Unlike some other cities in this area, the city of Lake Forest followed President Trump's directive and lowered the flags to half staff for Charlie Kirk. There's some other cities around here. Look at the one to the south that did not do that.
Highland
Park? The one to the north. I don't know if Lake Bluff did that. So
definitely not Lake Bluff.
The city. I think the city leaders respectfully lowering the flag was appropriate because the president directed it. And look, I'm not a fan of J.B. Pritzker, but to his credit, he lowered the flags in the state for Charlie Kirk, which California did not, I believe. So I think that they should have stayed away because I hate to tell you this, Pete. Kamala Harris won Lake Forest. Okay, now Mary Cole also won Lake Forest, and a lot of Republicans, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, Bob Dole and Mark Kirk, they won Lake Forest. But this is not a Republican town, nor is it a Democratic town. This is a town that goes both ways. So at least half of the voters in Lake Forest don't like President Trump. Okay, and you can't. Charlie's whole career was based on promoting Republicans, and particularly his career took off when he started promoting President Trump in 2016. So, and again, this event was hosted by the Republican, emceed by the Republican Party chairman, which he had every right to do. I respect Dan, and he was doing it, and our friend Michelle Parnell helped organize it as well. Kudos to Michelle. But this was a partisan event. You can't say it's nonpartisan and then say, oh, here's the Republican candidate for state Senate. Can you please stay and sign her petitions? You can't.
Well, and let me jump in, boys. I do respectfully agree with Joe, and here's why. And I think this is a big part as a small business owner, I don't want my local mayors and aldermen to be partisan. I want local municipalities to be nonpartisan. And yeah, everyone could secretly know this alderman's left and that alderman's right. It's irrelevant, right? The people in Lake Forest should be getting things done for Lake Forest. So when if I have to go to a mayor TAC or I have to go to one of the aldermen, the focus should be on Lake Forest. Shouldn't be like, oh, you're this and you're that, so I'm not going to give you this license. I'm not going to give you that permit. And then we get this big clash. You see it on the county level sometimes, and it's terrible. And it's like I've said 100 times, I've had businesses in tons of different towns over the years. Lake Forest is the most business friendly one that I've ever experienced. And one of the reasons I think is because it's so community focused and it doesn't have any of that left or right involved in it. So and another question I have to that, and I understand, hey, we want our local politicians, maybe your congressman, right? I think that would be appropriate. Like, hey, how come my congressman wasn't here?
I'm going to give
federal level, but
let me. That's a good point because I forgot to mention this. So there was a resolution in Congress about Charlie Kirk, memorializing him, and to his credit, Congressman Brad Schneider crossed party lines and voted in favor of the resolution memorializing Charlie Kirk. Now, the real left Democrats, the AOCs and all those characters, they voted no, and some of the other Illinois Democrats voted no.
That's where I'm coming from,
Brad
guys.
Schneider did the right thing. Now back to Lake Forest though, Pete and Jeff. Lake Forest has a long tradition of not doing any resolutions about national things. They didn't even do a resolution, I'm told, after 9/11. Whereas Highland Park, every month they're doing some this is National Gun Violence Month and we need to ban handgun. I mean, and Nancy Rotering, she was in campaign commercials for J.B. Pritzker in the last governor election. Okay, so if you're a Republican living in Highland Park, how do you feel trying to get something done with the city of Highland Park when your mayor, Ms. Rotering, is so highly partisan? She's run 3 times in Democratic primaries. So I see your frustration and I get it. And like I said, I wouldn't have done the BLM protest or excuse me, not protest, vigil in 2020 if I had been in the mayor's shoes. For the same reason, because
why did George do it?
It's a slippery slope.
Why did George do it then?
That's a question. Look, I love George. I respect George.
You know why? Because he led.
That was his decision. That was his decision.
We're talking.
I also think a personal preference. I mean, first of all, if someone did go to the vigil, I wouldn't hold that against them either.
No.
But if they don't, I don't think that's a reflection on the job they're doing in their local municipality office. That's awesome.
I mean, let's say Congressman Schneider had attended, okay, or State Representative Bob Morgan, or more important, State Senator Julie Morrison, who lives in Lake Forest, and her opponent is speaking at this and saying, "Can you sign my petitions?" How awkward would that have been? For that, just as look, if I was the Republican candidate in 2020. Against Bob Morgan or Julie Morrison or whoever, and these guys are speaking at this rally, how would I feel about that?
So we're talking politics. I'm talking about leadership. I think we all have different expectations of leadership. Joe, I don't know what yours is. Jeff, I don't know what yours is, but I do know this, Joe and Jeff, and even Skoo. Joe, if you didn't have your job where you're at, and Jeff, if you didn't have your businesses where you're at, you're both financially independent, which you probably are already. But if you didn't have that, I think you guys would be talking differently on this show, number one. Number two, leadership. In absence of leadership, look what happened at Lake Forest College.
Would Charlie Kirk and his group have been welcome?
That if a person like Charlie Kirk were going to come to our campus, that they would be willing to engage in truly respectful dialogue. It can be vigorous disagreement, but it would have to be respectful dialogue. Unfortunately, a lot of what I've seen does not fit that.
Right now, I haven't seen
Well, that's a
anything from.
different story.
Well, it's Lake Forest College leadership in Lake Forest. Silence isn't leadership. Okay,
Well, he
whether you
wasn't
like,
silent.
wasn't silent.
The president said something that I really disagreed with last week.
Okay, what did he say?
He basically said, Charlie, and shame on me that I didn't follow up for my question because but I thought about it afterwards. Um, he basically said Charlie Kirk wouldn't have been welcome at Lake Forest College. Now that I have a problem with. That's very different, Pete,
Yes.
than the mayor saying I'm not attending this event. Okay, the mayor did the right thing in lowering the flags, and unlike some other elected officials elsewhere in this country, the mayor never expressed joy or some snarky comment about Charlie. Oh, well, you know, what comes around goes around. Or, I mean, we saw elected officials elsewhere in this country say horrible things
No,
about the death of Charlie
you
Kirk.
don't pick
Mayor
convenient
Tack
events
never
to.
did any of that.
No, you don't pick convenient events to lead. You lead always. You can never not lead.
Well,
So
and
if
that's
you're right,
why I think leadership is acknowledging that there are different points of view and again, local leadership. There's a very difference these are nonpartisan races. And I think leadership is staying nonpartisan. Okay. The person who's not a leader is Nancy Rotering because she has taken, and I would extend that to the mayor of Northbrook as well. They sit front and center at all the Democratic Party functions with J.B. Pritzker and the rest of that crowd. Okay, so if you're a resident of Highland Park or Northbrook, how do you feel if your mayor, who's elected nonpartisan, is hobnobbing every week with
these are all
the leaders of the Democratic Party and not
these are
attending
all
Republican
national level
events?
things that we're talking about, and
Right.
I don't think the leadership reflects on that. I think when we had COVID, I think everyone in Lake Forest, all the aldermen and the mayor were all involved in lots of decisions that affected Lake Forest residents and businesses every day. I think if something, God forbid, catastrophic happened in Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, or in the area, I think they would all be involved. And it's a nonpartisan issue. It is just, helping your constituents and your residents. I think this was a national thing, and everyone should be respectful of both sides. And I just don't see the reason why to be upset. And I don't think it would be a reflection on leadership at all by someone not attending something. I don't think it's a snark. I don't think it's a nose in the air. I don't think it's a diss at all. So I don't see why we'd be upset.
And more importantly, I don't need other people to validate how I feel. I don't need to have the presence of the mayor or whoever at an event to validate how I feel about Charlie Kirk's death. Okay. So, for the reason, like I said, I knew him better than anyone here. So I don't see that. More importantly, I want to, I'm an issue-oriented guy. And I think on the issues, I would say this to all my conservative friends who may be upset about what happened, but that the mayor didn't attend. If every unit of government was run like the city of Lake Forest, I don't know if Charlie Kirk would have a career because this is about as well fiscally run of a city government as you're going to find. I would say this, if Charlie lived in Lake Forest, he would be a supporter of Randy Tack and the Lake Forest caucus because they're doing on the fiscal issues, which is what the city is all about. This is a very fiscally conservatively run city. The city government. Now, school district is a different story, but the leadership, if you're looking for quote unquote conservative leadership, look to the actions of how this city is run more than whether somebody attends a vigil or not.
Joe, look, we can agree to disagree, which I've been doing all day long on the Facebook page. But look, this was like our 1968. Okay, we had a period where Democrats were targeted and killed by the other side. Now the script is turned. Republicans are being targeted and killed. And Charlie Kirk, who I didn't know till this came up and I started doing some homework on him, I knew Katie Dold. I knew Mark Dold, back then in the day. I think there's a picture with me and Charlie Kirk in there somewhere. And I don't remember it, but
Was that you in the picture?
probably not. Because
I heard it was Louis Atsavas, who is also a Lake Forest resident.
Who knows? Who knows? So look, I didn't catch on to this. What I'm catching on that, look, life is all about feedback, positive and negative. And if you don't give feedback for actions, then people are going to say, you know what? I didn't hear anything. It's okay. Look at Lake Forest College. Okay. You got the president who just comes on the show, and you're right. I didn't catch that at the end too. That was a great question. And if we didn't have our viewers and listeners saying, hey, why didn't you push back on that? I wouldn't have gone back and made that clip. And then you have a student that feels like they're in a unsafe environment for what they believe in to have to come out and show those real bad pictures that's on the college database. This is what you get. And then you get more.
But I would argue that what that kid, you cannot put in the same league what that kid did, comparing that to the mayor not attending. Okay, those are two different things. The mayor is very respectful about the whole thing, and
I think Pete's trying to segue, but I would also make the argument of this, Pete. And yes, that was disgusting what that kid did. But the culture is not set by the president of the university; it's set by the student body. So the culture, I believe.
Who's the leader?
Well, leader of what? The leader of the football team.
Who's the leader of this town, Jeff? Go. Who's the leader of this town? Is it Randy? Is it Wisha? Who's leading?
You know what the genius of the caucus is? That there isn't any one. The genius of the caucus is that there is no one leader, that it is the community leading. We have unlike Highland Park, where Nancy Rotering is mayor for life.
It's a culture.
We have term limits, 4 years and you're done. City council, 6 years and you're done. All of the commissions have term limits. The caucus itself has term limits. So unlike some other cities, the community leads up instead of someone leading down. Okay,
it's time to take action.
That's the genius of the Lake Forest caucus.
What's the action to take, though? It's a culture being set, and culture is set by the people inside that culture, right? So, and lead by example, sure, but
what example?
Well, that's what I'm saying. My point is respect if someone doesn't want to go just as much as someone does want to go, or if someone wants to stay in. I mean,
there were people on city council that wanted to go but didn't want to be part of the optics.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So maybe they
you know what that is? That's
honestly,
chicken shit.
When the 4 years that I was a municipal trustee back in the Stone Ages, I stayed away from partisan events like that because
it's a national event, though.
But let me finish the sentence.
Was MLK a national event? When MLK got assassinated, was that a national event?
I wasn't alive yet, but obviously,
yes,
yes, of course. Yeah. But that was not. But Pete, that's a very different time and a very different comparison. In 1968,
I didn't get the attendance figures of it, but it's a national event, and you show up for your constituents and say, you know what, I don't agree with what you believe in, but I'm showing up. 90% of leadership is just showing up.
Well, you know what? If that's the case, and like I said, I am not criticizing Dan Rogers in any way.
On this thing now.
Look, Dan is a good guy, and I give him credit for trying to do things for the Republican Party. If you could have structured the event in a way that made it nonpartisan by saying, you know what, we're not going to have any political speakers, we're not going to have candidates for office speaking, we're just going to have the minister, and in fact, we're going to go out of our way to have a Democratic speaker and a Republican speaker. Maybe then, under those circumstances, maybe. But again, the genius of Lake Forest caucus is that they stay out of national politics, okay? And it would be hypocritical for me to have been so critical of Prue Beidler, and let's be honest, Susan Garrett is considering an independent run for mayor, everyone says. It would be hypocritical for me to criticize that, saying they're trying to take it over by the Democratic Party, and then to say, oh, the mayor should have attended what essentially was an event hosted by the Republican Party chairman. Can't have it both ways.
All for both events. Let's talk about Lake Forest College. Can we agree on that one, that that's just a big bowl of wrong and what should be done about it?
Well, I hope that picture can go a little more viral. I know there's a lot of pictures out there of people doing horrible things. But I hope somebody can find who that kid is, not to punish him, but to have a conversation with him about expectations of behavior. And look, I disagree with Mike Sosulski's comment that Charlie Kirk wouldn't have been welcome. If he wants to come back on and discuss that further, I'd love to do that. Other than that, though, I think Mike Sosulski seems like a reasonable guy. So I have a feeling that if you went to Mike Sosulski and said, "Hey, one of your students did this," I hope he would be outraged. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. He would say like, "Oh, well, good for, but I don't see Mike being that bad a guy based on our hour with him last week.
I've seen a lot of people that come on this show that don't seem like a bad guy, and then I look at their actions and what they do, two different, their actions and how they appear on the show. That's why I'm disgruntled.
Well, so for Mike's stance, I understand what Joe said. He said, Charlie Kirk want to be welcome on the campus. But what did Mike do that was so wrong other than that what Joe just said? Pete, in your opinion, I mean, he can't control 1,800 kids, and
He can.
No, you can't. Lake Forest High School has kids that do stupid stuff. You can't put that on the principal or
you put that on the leader. Yeah, you do, Jeff. You put it on the leader.
I
happens in your bar.
I was a bad kid in high school.
Well, let me say this: if a student at Liberty University, where my kids attend, did something like that, even to the other side, because we all know Liberty's a conservative
the internet
university,
is the one that destroys.
They would have been disciplined for that.
No, but I'm saying the internet is the one that takes the
conduct
action.
unbecoming.
Sure,
and so I think, look, it's one thing to say I disagree with Charlie Kirk. Okay, it's another thing to mock a human being's death, and that's
100%. First of all, I agree with you. I think that is absolutely disgusting. But my point is, you can't blame the president of the college for a kid being stupid. That's all I'm trying to say.
Jeff,
right?
In your business, let's talk about the bar business.
Yeah, I fired a person, 100%.
Okay. But your insurance, you have to go like harassment training or any of that type of stuff? So to show that you don't have a culture that allows sexual.
Yeah, well, of course, the state has regulatory training on stuff. You have to.
Right. You may not lead, but by not taking action, you are allowing the culture to exist. So if you let your bartenders, if you have a manager and they sexually harass somebody, you don't do anything about it, well, you're saying it's okay. You get that part of it, right?
100%. Now, so if this was a habitual problem that continued to occur, then I think you could say that 100%. But I think if you have an instance and someone either addresses it or it's an instance they're looking for it or opening an investigation, that is their due diligence.
So let me expand on that, though, because I think I speak from experience. I said this a few minutes ago. My son helped start a Turning Point chapter at Glenbrook South High School when we lived in Glenbrook, and he took a lot of crap from students and from teachers and administrators. In fact, there's a group down there called GCAN, Glenview Community Action Network, or Glenbrook Community Action Network, and they did a FOIA. You know all about FOIAs, Pete. They did a FOIA of text messages. They did a FOIA of text messages by administrators because they had school cell phones, and
they're all like good fellas. They don't get on phones. They don't email.
Hold on. Well, that's why they're in teaching.
They talk like good fellas.
They had this text chain, and they started talking about something to do with the Turning Point chapter, and one of the administrators referred to them, I think, as the brown shirts or something like that. So in other words, calling them Nazis. Now imagine me, parent and former school board member, seeing an administrator of my kid's high school in a text chain referring to my kid as a Nazi, essentially. I hit the roof, and a lot of people hit the roof. And in fact, the principal at the time, I believe, laughed at the comment in the text chain, because you can see those little laugh emojis and all that stuff. And there was hell to pay. There was a lot that happened, and people were they did hold. Eventually, it took a while, and I was very disappointed in how the school board down there handled it. But there was a culture there that I think you're referring to, Pete. And again, I don't know how. I'm gone from that place for several years now, and I'm not looking back. But I suspect that you have a culture like that at many academic institutions that is biased against conservatives. And that's why Charlie started his group, because he knew that most of these college campuses were dominated by people with liberal thought. That's the whole gist of why Turning Point was started. So I think it's a fair question to ask Lake Forest College and every institution of learning around high schools and colleges, if a group of students came to you and said, we want to start a Turning Point USA chapter, would you allow it? Because I've heard that Glenbrook North is giving them a hard time about it and not allowing it. And that's just wrong. So if a group, maybe you had that start a Turning Point chapter at Lake Forest College, because I'm sure the folks at Turning Point USA, Charlie, when my son said he wanted to do it and he emailed Charlie a couple times for advice, Charlie as you heard in the memorial service, Charlie replied to all his emails. He replied to my son's emails about helping him start it and then giving him advice when they were getting a hard time about stuff from the administration. They offered their legal team to help and stuff. So I think, so that to me is leadership, allowing a Turning Point USA chapter at your school. I'm far more concerned about that than I am about a fiscally conservative mayor showing up or not showing up at a vigil.
Yeah. Well, here, let me just, this could have been done, yes or no, Joe. A notice to the community. Lake Forest love those emails that come out. Hey, what happened is horrible. We don't,
Again, the city of Lake Forest has a longstanding tradition to not make comment on national issues, and that includes 9/11. I'm told they didn't. A lot of places did resolutions after 9/11. They chose not to.
But to me, because
Pete, if you do one, then you have to do them all, or people, because like I said, half this town is Democrat, half this town is Republican. So why would you make one half say, well, you did it for Charlie Kirk, but you didn't do it for that legislator in Minnesota, or you didn't do it, or down the road, if God forbid some liberal congressman is killed. I mean, it's a slippery slope when you start opening that door. And to their credit, other than the BLM thing in 2020, they stayed out. Okay. How many times do you see towns like Lake Bluff flying flags every month for every political cause?
Well, Lake Bluff is lost.
Okay. Lake Forest, to their credit, Lake Forest flies 3 flags: the U.S. flag, the state flag, and the municipal flag. And that's it. They stay out of all the other political stuff, because if you do one and you don't do the other, you're going to have it opens up a Pandora's box of problems. So I think they're doing it the right way. I understand your frustration. But like I said, actions speak louder than
we all have different we all have different expectations of leadership. We'll leave it at that. And we all have different places in our life where we feel comfortable saying what we truly believe and not. I'm in a position where I'm saying what I truly believe. I don't think you guys are in a position where you can say what you truly believe, and that's unfortunate.
I just spent a half hour saying what I truly believe on this show, and I do that every week. So I'm in a position to say whatever I want. Okay, I don't talk about the operations of my business like most people do who are employed. But other than that, I'm free to speak my mind on any political issue, and I have.
Well, if you got a political job, then you can't speak on political issues.
That's not true.
Okay.
That's not true. Those days are over, Pete. There's been court orders about that. You can't fire people on political.
All right, Jeff, the bar guy. Okay. Look, this is what's talking about in town. We were in the Lantern. We were in Duffers. People are talking about this, so we're talking about it. Now, we missed the city council meeting last week. I I got myself caught up on it and I checked it out. I don't know why the pavilion in Waveland Park is going to cost 400 grand more than it should. But then parking came up. We're going to get another survey on parking, Jeff. What is going on with parking? And you're passionate about this as a business owner. What should I be paying attention to?
I think I've brought this up a few times, right? So
we got new listeners and viewers this week.
Yeah. So, I'm actually really excited that the city is trying to get feedback from residents, from business owners, from everybody. So this is a good problem. This is a great problem, right? We have a really good problem in the city of Lake Forest right now. We don't have enough parking, and we don't have enough parking for customers. So here's what we're doing. We keep adding new businesses, including Duffers 3 years ago, right? So, and then you're adding, new high-end restaurants. You're adding more restaurants down. Lake Colonial is another addition. So we have all these new restaurants and new businesses coming to town. Great. This is good for us. I've been a huge advocate of this. We need to make sure that people can come now to these towns and enjoy all these places. So our parking situation has always been this in the past, is the parking lot east of the tracks has always been permitted parking for the trains. And we talked about post-COVID, the train lot is not getting utilized like it did pre-COVID, right? So there's a lot of empty parking over there. And then on this side of the tracks, not only do you have a lot more customers coming in town, you have a lot more staff working in town. So something's got to give, right? And then plus you're doing construction projects on Deer Path, right? So, I mean, parking is crazy right now. So I think from people I've talked to in the city, one of the ideas is after 4 o'clock, that east lot off McKinley is going to become free for people to use, specifically staff. So we want to get, and we're trying to self-promote right now. It's self-policing. There's no way to address it. And there's a couple reasons why, but we're on a push to get people that work in all the restaurants and retail spots to park east of those tracks. That way customers can come to the business. So everyone has jobs, tips, and businesses, for all this to make sense. Right now, parking, there's a loophole that everyone found. So if you guys go out to dinner, right? What time do you guys go out to dinner? 6, 7 o'clock? 4-ish. Well, yeah. I mean, Pete, you're Asian.
Pete doesn't go out to dinner. He just goes out for drinks.
But most people, right? So most restaurant employees start around 4:30, right? So the loophole is this, and then here's the loophole. I'll tell you, the 90-minute parking up and down Western and everywhere in East Lake Forest is till 6 o'clock. So if you get there at 4:30, you're good, right? That's the loophole, and everyone's figured it out. And if you haven't figured it out and you're listening to me, you just did. So that's the problem, right? And so staff is clogging a lot of this parking, which is resulting in customers trying to figure things out, and we don't want to discourage it. I've been to Hinsdale. I've been to a lot of downtown places where I love some of these restaurants down there, and I just don't go. Libertyville built a massive parking garage behind that new complex, behind Egg Harbor. You guys know what I'm talking about? Behind Firkins. They have a big old parking garage, because Libertyville used to have a massive parking problem as well. I don't see Lake Forest putting up a big parking garage, but we still have to address it. So that's my big take on it. I hope everyone supports more free parking and let's get rid of these permitted lots. I think the permitted lots made sense when people took the trains all day and et cetera. I don't think the city's making a ton of money off of it.
What are they making? Because if we don't know.
Okay, currently, so that east lot, it is, I think, $20 a month per vehicle, right? It's reasonable.
I know commuter parking is
No, I know, but what are the funds that are coming in? What are the funds coming in annually? And you know what? If you make it free and then you make the licenses more expensive, would you be for that?
No, I think parking should be free.
Who's going to pay for it?
Free parking. Everyone should park for free. Permanent parking, if you want to charge permanent premium parking, like, the first 50 spots closest to the little train hut thing, sure. Charge some premium, let people pay a little extra to park nice and close. But overall, parking should be free. I think free parking makes a lot of sense for everybody.
Well, and I think to the point of Pete's original point here was this was brought up at a council meeting, and they're going to look at it. They're going to
They
do
did. I mean, and they basically already
on
came,
it, which is a good thing. And I like you said
the
earlier
city's
when we had the other
proactive.
discussion.
They are proactive on this. They've already basically said after 4 o'clock, they're not enforcing it, which is the first step of it becoming the right way. You know, like, I mean, you take anything that they don't enforce, eventually it just becomes the way, right? So I think it's great. I think now it's more education on business owners in town and stuff like that to really,
And this isn't something new. I remember, I had a summer job here in the 80s, and I remember that, and a lot of times I had to work during the day. And I remember that 90-minute rule and the little the meter person, I don't want to say meter maid, but whoever it was back then in the 80s, would go around in that little thing and mark the tires, and so we'd all either
they
move.
can't do that anymore, I heard.
Yeah, I heard that. So, but we'd all either go move our cars every hour and a half, or then we figured out how to wipe the mark off the tire with cleaning solution from the store. So we so it's always been a game. And I guess when you have a finite amount of something, you have to think of, well, what do we do so that some of it's available? Now, as you know, I come to your restaurant a couple times a week at least. I try to bring my wife and my mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law has trouble walking. She uses a cane. So I don't mind walking 2 or 3 blocks. I consider it, hey, good exercise for me.
Talk to me in February.
Exactly. So there's that. There's people like, she has a handicap permit. So if she's with us and there's a handicap, but sometimes those handicap spaces fill up quickly too. So I can see a person who has a physical challenge of walking great distance might say, you know what? I'm going to take a pass and I'm just going to go somewhere that has a big parking.
Yeah, and the handicap thing, first of all, if someone has a physical disability, 100%. Second of all, if you're an able-bodied younger person, park far on purpose.
That's what I try to do when sometimes we'll just I'll let the ladies out, and then I go park over on the other side of Jewel, not in the Jewel lot.
Yeah.
On the other
if someone
side of
parks in a
Jewel.
handicap spot and they walk out of their car with an emotional support dog, I don't like you. Something.
There are people that abuse that. There's no question.
100%.
No, like I said, my mother-in-law definitely needs to use it at times, but you're right. There are people that do abuse it, and like you just said, I try to do the right thing and park far away. One, to get my exercise in, but two, to do that. But yeah, if it's pouring rain, I might say screw it. I'll just.
So we've had some contentious, behind the scenes. We've had some contention over here, and but I think.
So what would be? Let me ask you this. I mean, I don't want to prejudge the study.
Sure.
But what is? I guess you can't build. Now, I know we've talked before about there's a parking garage on the south end of the CBD, Central Business District, by
Chase
Bank. Yeah, that the couple of restaurants and the Deer Path Inn use.
Yep.
Could there be something like that done? And that doesn't seem. Some of these massive parking garages in other towns are an eyesore. They're practical, but sometimes they're an eyesore. So I think people don't want to see a big parking garage next to Market Square, and I get that. But maybe we could put in something smaller, 2 or 3 levels, or go underground. Maybe, I don't know. That so that it doesn't affect the scenery, the beautiful scenery of our Central Business District.
So presumably there's more coming, right? We're making Lake Forest more of a Libertyville vibe, I would say, and that's great. And I'm again, I think that's awesome.
What would be Highwood?
What's that?
Would we rather be Highwood?
No, I don't know. I mean, I like both.
Highwood has parking challenges too.
Everyone's wonderful, man. I just love everybody. I like Libertyville better. Sorry.
Both of you.
Yeah. I think we're becoming more of a Libertyville vibe. We have sports bars, we have bigger restaurants, we have higher end restaurants. It makes more sense being Libertyville.
All right. All right, fine. That being said, the difference between Libertyville and Highwood.
But my point being is Libertyville had a parking issue that they had to address, and that's what has become. So parking garage, yeah, Joe, it all comes down to dollars and cents, right? How much money would it cost to build a parking garage over on or a 2-level thing on McKinley? I don't know, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to become like Schaumburg or Vernon Hills.
We will never become,
with massive malls and
there's no space for
parking lots. No,
you got to take what you have, but instead of 150 boutiques, we're starting to have a lot more bars and restaurants, right?
Which is good. It's revenue. It
attracts more people at once.
It brings livelihood into the town. Yeah. I hate to use the word vibrant because the mayoral candidate used that against TAC last time, but
I would say the city of Lake Forest has a good vibe now. That's what
I think it's great. I mean, and there was a time that you had the lantern, and that was about it. And
lantern's cool. I mean, and that was
and we love the lantern. Don't get me wrong. Pete and I were there Sunday night. We love the lantern. So,
Ed.
But yeah,
Ed, we love you.
Just got
come on the show.
You know what? And that'd be good for the lantern too with the parking. And so that's my big push on the parking. I think business owners need to support it. And I think, by pushing staff over there, I think that building owners need to be, aware of these things so that they could help communicate to business owners. And then of course the city, hopefully they change everything to like 2 or 3 hour parking. And you could do it from 6 a.m. to whatever the street closes, 2 a.m., whatever.
I think what they want to avoid is people taking up those spots and jumping on a metro train and being downtown all day. Whereas that spot
on Western, they need to put
lunchtime for business.
Put hourly on it. But on those public lots, you're saying someone from somewhere else driving in, parking, and then jumping on a metro,
anybody, a commute. I think a commuter is one thing because the commuter shows up at 6:37 in the morning and doesn't get back.
They're coming to have a beer somewhere
they're taking up a space that you're losing a lunch customer.
Well, no, we're losing customers on Western because staff from all these restaurants and places are parking on the street, period.
How do you enforce that? Because I've worked in jobs where staff had to park.
It's hard.
It was tricky to enforce.
I mean, a business owner can enforce by scheduling, but the city could enforce by saying, hey, it's going to be 2 hour, 3 hour parking period. So I know Pete's like, okay, enough of parking, but
no, it's about you're setting a culture.
It is a culture. It is important, and I think it's good for everyone in town. It makes it's a very walkable town. It's a very everything. But I think Lake Forest now with all these new bars and restaurants, we're starting to invite people from other communities to come here to dine. Right? Period. We're becoming a dining destination. So,
and that's good, and
which also brings tax revenue in, right? I mean, everyone's paying sales tax. Everyone's paying. Filling up all these retail places. Everyone's like, oh, the building owners. Yeah. But guess what? Everyone that's renting is paying the property tax in their space for the building owner. So it's bringing property tax. It's bringing sales tax. It's bringing jobs. It's bringing everything. So,
well, kudos to the mayor and the council for not turning a blind eye to this, to addressing this.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is what leadership is taking a local.
This is a Lake Forest issue that needed to be addressed. So I'm glad we talked about this Lake Forest issue today. I got to run.
Bye. Later. I got to run too. I'm tired.
Yeah. Go Scouts, go Foresters.
If you don't like the content, then come on here and make your own. Bye.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit laracycpa.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G.